And we're back. We've got all of the bricks loaded out, we've got all of the blocks loaded out, and we're good to go. So we have this corner here and this corner here, and then we've got to run that in. There's patio doors in here, as you can see again. Corner here, that's all built up as well. So we've done basically all the brickwork on the outside up to dump level. That's the level it needs to be before we put the plastic in. Today, put that corner in, right there. I've got some muck in the mixer, so I'll go and grab that and we'll get on with this corner. Right, before we start this corner, just a couple of things. One, bit of a disclaimer. This is how I like to build a corner. This is how it works for me. It might differ from other people. There's loads of different builders out there. Everyone works in different ways, but this is the way that it works for me. And also, I like to have all my tools handy, all my bricks handy, everything ready to go, so I haven't got to be walking backwards and forwards. They have your tool bag right next to you. This is what I'm going to be using. One, trowel, obviously. Muck, obviously. It's not really a tool, but we need it. Also, a 2 foot level. Bit old. I've had this since I was an apprentice, so this is over 10 years old. Yep. Boat level, little level, very handy. And then we got a 4 foot level. Hammer. You might not necessarily need a hammer if you're doing stretcher bond, but because I'm doing the fake Flemish, I need a hammer to break the bricks in half to get the snapped headers. Tape measure. Always have a pencil in your pocket, they're always handy. And hammer and bolster. This, that again, I've had a long time. I've worn it right down. And a bolster, 100mm bolster. So those are the bits you're going to need. As I said, I'm doing the fake Flemish bond, so I'm going to have to use a load of cuts in here. But if you're just using straight stretcher bonds, you're probably not going to have to worry about half of it. You just need a trowel and a few levels and a tape measure. Now the other thing you need to know, you don't need to know, but it's very helpful to know it, is your 75 times table. Because you go up in 75mm increments. Now that helps us, why? Because I have measured all the way around the height, and then when you build on top of it, when you started building it, it was all bang on level within a couple of mil of each other. And as you go up, you want it to be level going up. So how do you work that out? You use gauge. You take your tape measure and you go down to the top of this course here. So if you run that line along, it's here, and you pop your tape on it, and basically 75mm going all the way up. Each course should be 75mm. So it's 75, 1500, 225, 300, 375, and so on and so forth. Everything's set up, get your tools next to you, get your muck next to you, make sure your bricks are there nice and clean and dry, make sure you know gauge. Oh, and also, last little tip, before you build, you want to make sure that you've marked out where any windows or doors are going. For example, patio doors are going here, big bifold patio doors. I've already pre-marked. That black line right there is where I need to go up to. So I'm going to bring my brick to about there. I won't butt it right up to it, because if the doors are 3 meters, I want 10mm either side. So I'm going to jump in 10mm and then build it. So those are all things you need to be aware of before you start building any corners. That's that, let's get into it. The other thing I forgot to say about brush, always keep your brush handy. First things first, make sure it's nice and clean. Lots of sand and stuff's kicked over it, I've walked over it, and it's just good to get a nice clean start. Now, take in mind you don't want to rub off that mark you put down for any windows and doors. So, first things first, get a nice bit of gear. You need to watch for the bond. First thing, you don't want to do a straight bond. So, nice bit of muck. I like putting a little bit more than I need, just so I'd rather push it down more than have to lift it up and put more muck under it. Keep your boatie to hand. Now, you pick a brick. I like to pick a brick with a nice square edge on that one. And then what you want to do is you want to pop that brick on top, and as you put it on top, just with your eye down this corner, and this corner, just to make it, just so that you've got a rough idea that it's in the right place. So if I'm looking down that corner, you can see it's roughly in the right place. Get your trowel and just chop those snots off like that. And then you have a little look at it. It looks sort of in line here and here, just so that when it comes to levelling it and plumbing it, it just makes life a bit easier. You get your boat level, just plonk it on the top and level it up. Get rid of those snots on the side there. As you see, that one nice and level there, and it looks all pretty good on the corners. Then what you want to do from there is you want to level up one side. As you can see, it's a little bit over, so all you need to do is just tap that brick over until, I like to have it so it's just a little bit over, and then you just push it in till you get it bang on. Then you go from there, and then you work on this corner here. So we've done this corner here, and now we want this side here. And as you can see, that one is also leaning over. Now, when it comes to doing this section, there's a particular way I like to do this. Now, so we know that the top of this brick here, if you look down the side there, it needs to come this way. So as you can see, the top section, there's more of a gap than there is at the bottom. So the top of this brick needs to come over more than the bottom. So how do you do that? What I like to do is, if you tap this side, that will bring the top over more. You just take that to there. Now let's have a look at that again. As you can see, it hasn't really moved that much. Just move it over a fraction, and there you go, bang on level. And then from there, just check this one here. Now you see that's a little bit the wrong way. It needs to go the other way. So just, there we go. Oh, make sure the level's touching properly. And there we go, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. So from there, we have our first brick laid. Just make sure you take all that off. Now, two things you need to pay attention to. One is ranging. When you range a brick, you want to put one edge of your level on the far corner, and the other end of the level is down one course. So you start one edge here, and the other edge is going to be down here on the bottom course below it. So as you can see, if you look down at the top, and it ranges it through. Now these bricks aren't exactly the nicest ones to do this with, but you can see that there's a slight gap there. So with your trowel, you just knock it over. I haven't got free hands, so I'll do that off camera. But because you know this course here is all level, because you've built the corners below it and you've run it all in, so these will be plumb. As long as you built your corners below plumb, these will be plumb. So use that there as a baseline, and you take that together, and I'll tap that section, that little gap over off camera. I'm not an octopus. And then that will be right there. Don't necessarily need to do it on this side through here, because you've already done one here and it's plumb. So you only really need to do it when you put more bricks through here. So you range it through. This is where you want to make sure that you've done it right. So as I said about gauge, realistically you should do this once it's levelled, and you know it's level. You gauge it, then do all the ranging and everything else, because what I've just done is I didn't gauge it. Luckily it's right, but if you do that and you realise it's too high or too low, then all that ranging was for no reason, and you've got to lift it up or tap it back down. This is why I like having a bit more muck under it than you should do, because you can tap it down. You don't have to lift it up, put more muck on it and then put it back down, because if you've done everything that I've already done and you've realised that it's just a fraction too high, all you've got to do is tap it down and just double check all the corners. That was a bit lucky, but it was all in the right place. So that's the first brick done, hardest brick. Now from here you put a bed of muck through here, or your next area, and taking in mind, remembering where your doors and windows are going to be. So you take a bit of time, get something on there. I like to run it all the way up to where I'm going. It depends how far away. If the window's like miles off down there, then you just do a few at a time, because you don't have to worry about that, because you're building a corner. You're not going all the way off down here somewhere. So you put muck on there. Now, normally for a stretcher bond you just put another brick, another brick, another brick, another brick. But because I'm doing the fake Flemish, I need a half bat in there. So I'll take my hammer and I'll try and find a brick with a nice face on it. You check the ends of the brick to see what looks nice. Sometimes you get them there all busted up and you don't really want to use them, so I'll take this one, just snap it in half. So you butter up your brick, make sure you get a nice amount on there, and then you pop it where it's got to go. Sorry, I didn't show you that. You pop it where it's got to go. Now, I know that there's a whole brick going in there, so I'm just going to quickly butt one up and stick it in there without levelling that. I'm going to level the whole thing from here to here in one go. So I find a nice enough brick, bit of muck on it, butter it up, make sure you buttering up, you go down and then both sides, otherwise you get an empty joint. And then you just plonk it in, get your 4 foot level out, you have a look where it's at, tap it down till it's level. So once you tap it down till it's level, there you go, nice and level all the way through. Now you need to do the same thing as you did before, the ranging. So I'm using the 4 foot level now. So as we can see, there's a gap there. So this one and this one need pushing over to marry up with that brick there. You get your trowel and just tap it over a bit. Right, so I'm just holding this side up with my foot just to show you where to tap. So make sure this end is touching and come along here, and all you do is you tap on your level where, so we want this section here to touch, so you just go to the section before where it's not touching to where it is touching, just tap it over a bit, the level, and then, I mean, I'm happy with that. Oh, it is touching, not just here, it's touching there. With these knobbly bobbly bricks you're going to get a lot of gaps in the middle, but as long as it's touching, you make sure it's touching on this corner and this corner, or if it's ranged through, you just range through the whole thing. If you've got holes in it, like dents and divots like this, then just go to the point closest to where the corner is, or if not the corner itself. And there you go, there's the first couple through, gauge, level, plumbed. You always level first, then plumb, then range it. That's how I do it anyway. So you rinse and repeat that through here, and then so I'll quickly do that, and then we'll come back to you on the top one, the next course up. And so there we go. That's the first course done. You look through. I think it looks pretty good. Also, I'd like to show you notes. When you are doing this, as you do with any brickwork, you should always check your perps. So as you're laying, check the perps below, they're in line. As you can see here, this one is a little bit over. You can see it's just there. My perps there. this brick was a little bit bigger, but as you can see here, much more in line. Bring it over here. It's a fraction over. The edge of the brick is here. My brick was here, so about 5mm over. But as long as you're aware, when you're stood here laying, you always look down the perp, not the brick below, but the one below that. So one cross down. Always check the perp so you don't float over. Otherwise, your brick might end up over here or over here, and you're miles and miles away from where you're supposed to be. It's just a nice little tip so that you don't float over too much. I think it's, well, I've always known it's been called floating over. Other people might call it different things, but you don't want to float over. You can, every like 5 or 7 courses or something like that, just put a little pencil mark just so you know where you're going, so they can be straight with a level. Just plumb it up so that they're all straight. It's a little pencil mark, and then you follow it up and little pencil mark, just so you know you don't float over. But that's if you're really particular about how it looks. In this case, I want the brickwork to look a little, not rough, but because they're rough bricks, I don't want it nice, perfect, clean. This sounds like an excuse for me to do some terrible brickwork, but no, far from it. I want it to just look a bit more rustic, so I'm not being as particular as I would do with the jointing. I'm making sure that you can see the brush strokes when you brush over, and just make, I'll show you when I get to it, but just making sure it just looks a bit more authentic, a bit more old, a bit more original, a bit more traditional, not very clean cut, because the bricks aren't clean cut whatsoever. I don't want nice, clean, crisp jointing with rough old bricks like these. I just don't think it matches in well. Anyway, so that's the first course. Basically, rinse and repeat going up, and you just step it in so it's stepped in, as I'll show you on the other corners. Just step it in until you get up to your 4 courses. So I'll whip through this now, and I'll show you when I get to the end. I'll show you a couple plumbing points as well when I get to the end, so you can see exactly where you're supposed to plumb, where you're supposed to range. But always remember, level first, then plumb it, then range it. So remember that, you can't really go wrong. So I'll check back in when I've got this corner up. So there we go, one corner, nicely finished. Well, it ain't finished, all the rubbing up's got to be done, but it's a bit wet at the moment. So, as I said, I'm going to go through a couple of the plumbing points. Now, when you plumb it, you want to plumb one on this corner right here, like so. You want to do one right there, like so. And also when it's done, you range it through, all the way through from the bottom to the top. It looks pretty good to me. There's a few little gaps here and there, but because the bricks are so all over the shop, I'm not too bothered. And as this side, we have a doorway here. As I said, you plumb that one there. You also plumb right here. So that's showing, that's nice. And then you also want to plumb the inside of the doorway. I always find that put your foot right up against it on the bottom. In that way, focus, in that way, if you have to tap it over, it doesn't kick out the bottom. I think I've just moved that brick. Yeah, the bottom doesn't kick out like that, so you just keep your foot right nice and tight up against it. Have a little look, that's nice. And then, same, always put your foot on the bottom. And there you go, there's your corner done. I say done. Got to rub it up, it's a bit wet at the moment. And the long of it, I'm pretty happy with that. It looks quite nice. Got ice on my chair. So if you enjoyed that video, let me know. Leave a like if you did enjoy it. I'd like to hear if you guys have had any troubles building corners, if this has been any help whatsoever to you building a corner, or maybe you're just a guy who's been doing it for like 50 years, or a girl who's been doing it for 50 years, and I'd just like to hear your opinion and just see what's going on. So I'm down in the comment section, I'm chilling down there, just leave a comment. Yeah, let me know if you enjoy this, and I'll make some more tutorial videos. I'd like to do one on running in. I'd like to do one. There's a few ideas that I've got floating around in my head, but I'll see how this one goes. I'll leave it there, and see you in the next video.